The devil has been defeated. Don't let him shakara you. Don't let him shakara you.
The second book of Corinthians, chapter 10 from verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imagination and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your own obedience is fulfilled. Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against power, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil days, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery dart of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. We have been looking at Israel and her warfare. Why? We said because both Israel and the church, both of them are God's chosen people in their own peculiar way. As a church, there's a lot that you and I can learn from the warfare of Israel. And last episode, we looked at the illustration of the 7 feasts of the Lord. Then we started looking at the wars of modern day Israel. We looked at the demonic and the evil root of anti-Semitism. We looked at the birth of modern day Israel on the 14th of May 1948. We look at their restoration to their ancient land after the horror of Holocaust and the wars that immediately follow. We also look at why the land of Israel today is called Palestine. Now, one of the misinformation today is to keep accusing Israel as occupying the land that belonged to a group of people called Palestinians. Unfortunately, a lot of this information is being pushed by people that should know better. Now, let me be clear here. I'm not playing down the suffering of any group of people in the Middle East today on all sides, but we need to set the record straight. As we explained last episode, the word Palestinian has its root in the word meaning Philistine, and Philistines are Israel's foremost biblical enemy. So the word Palestinian, the root is from that word Philistine. It was applied to anyone living in that area. So the word Palestinian was a geographical label. It was not the name for a group of people. And we said this was done by the Roman Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century AD. So what we are saying is that the concept of Palestinian as a nation state in opposition to Israel, or as a racial group predating the presence of the Jews in the ancient land, is historically false. I will say that again. There was no group of people called Palestinian that predated the presence of the Jewish inhabitants in their ancient land. There was no Palestinian people in 1948 when the modern day nation of Israel was born. There is no mention of Palestinians in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, neither is there any mention of Palestinian even in the Quran. It is an interesting study to look at how modern day Palestinians came into being as a group and as a state. But that is not our focus at the moment. Needless to say, the origin of the Palestinian as a nation is a combination of few factors, and it includes wars in the Middle East, the moving boundaries of countries in the Middle East, but most importantly, it involved political and religious propaganda and manipulation. That is why some people slept one day being a group and woke up another day being a Palestinian. The fact is that Israel called their land Palestine long before modern day Palestinians appeared. When Israel became a modern state in 1948, Israel called their land Palestine. And I'm going to show you 2 evidence. The first evidence I'm going to show you is this handbill. This handbill was the handbill that the Zionist Organization of America, this is the handbill they sent to people to help them build their homeland when they became a modern nation. It's a restoration fund. But I want you to see what they call their land. They call it Palestine Restoration Fund. Remember, this is a handbill made by the Zionist Organization, by Israel, by the Zionist organization that were trying to build the new nation. This is what they call their land. So what I'm trying to say is that Israel called their land Palestine long before the modern day Palestinian came on the scene. Let me show you another evidence. This evidence I'm going to show you is a copy of what we call Jerusalem Post today. I want to show you one of the copy of the old edition of this paper. Let's see what light this can throw for us. Now I want you to look at this. This is a copy of an original paper. The date is here, which I've blown up here. You can see it's a paper that was published on Sunday, May 16, 1948. Look at the name of this paper. It is called the Palestinian Post. The Palestinian Post. Now the Palestinian Post was soon renamed the Jerusalem Post, but I want you to see Israel called their paper Palestinian Post. And remember, this paper is from May 16, 1948. Okay, so my point is that, because again, like I said, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of propaganda in this area. Okay, Israel called their land Palestine. Now the question is, how can Israel be an occupier in their own ancient land, which, by the way, was restored to them legally? How can you accuse them of being an occupier in their own ancient land? How can we? But this is the misinformation that people push all the time. And the fact is this: most of the synagogues, and this is very, very important. Again, I'm not going any deep into this point. We're just touching them briefly. Most of the synagogue that is unearthed in archaeological excavation in Israel, in the West Bank, in Gaza Strip, in Golan Heights, all these archaeological dig up dated from the Roman and the Byzantine period, from the 3rd to the 7th century. And all these archaeological findings actually confirm that the Jews were in those lands. Synagogues were dug up, materials were dug up that consistently confirm that the Jews were in those lands. And people kept pushing this misinformation. Again, understand what I am not doing here. I quite appreciate that there are people suffering on all sides of this conflict that is going on in the Middle East. And I'm not playing down this suffering. But the truth is only the truth that can help us to find lasting solution. The truth will always win. We cannot have a solution when we are given alternative narratives. Okay, when we are saying lies. Now we cannot get to a solution. So that is why we are doing what we are doing. Unfortunately, many of the legacy mainstream media today, unfortunately, social media is awash with misinformation and bias against the Jews and also against Christianity. They are trying to control the narrative. They are pushing false narrative. They are trying to paint Israel as an aggressive occupier of Palestinian territory. This is far from the truth. Again, I'm not here to try and promote one against the other, but this is the truth. Okay, there have been mistakes on all sides. There have been suffering on all sides. But we need to understand that this is the truth. It has been shown that the CNN, and the BBC, and in fact many of the legacy mainstream media of this world, they are quite biased against Israel. They are biased against Israel. They are biased against the Jews. They are biased against Christians. I mean, the recently concluded election in America shows how biased this legacy mainstream can be. I mean, the fact is there in your face, and these people will lie. they will promote a narrative that is totally lies. Even a quick look of how this legacy mainstream media, a quick look at how they cover the war going on in Middle East, confirm this bias. For example, just a quick one. Rocket will be fired by Hamas against Israel. This rocket will drop into Gaza and kill Palestinians. Who is to be blamed? It is Israel. The media will blame the Israel. I remember that case when a man fired a bomb that then dropped in an hospital in Gaza and killed many people. One of the things you immediately realize is that they will inflate the people that die. I mean, one death is bad enough. Don't misunderstand me. They will inflate the number of people that die, number one. And then the world media, this legacy media, immediately blame Israel until there was an irrefutable proof that actually that bomb was fired by Hamas. But all this media have run with the fact that it was Israel. Unfortunately, many people are influenced about these lies. These journalists are supposed to help us to understand the truth, but they are not. This media, this legacy media, and a whole lot of what is going on in social media today, they are not neutral source of news and information. They have been taken over by people that are pushing certain agenda, people that are pushing certain ideologies. Now, I'm not saying that everything about this legacy media, I'm not saying that everything about this mainstream media are evil or bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not even asking you not to listen to them. They do have some good quality. What I'm saying is that you need to check other independent source. And really, nobody living in this age have an excuse. Okay, you can double check. Yes, it can take you a little bit of effort, but you can double check these things. Okay, by simple search, you can double check these things. Don't get your news just from one source. Okay, don't depend on the CNN and BBC of this world, thinking that they are neutral source of news. They are not. They are biased in many of these cases that they present. And remember, they are not only biased against Israel, they are biased against Christian and against Christianity, and we need to understand that. And one other news outlet that people almost always get duped by is Al Jazeera. Do you know that Al Jazeera is a Qatari state-owned media conglomerate? Al Jazeera is not an independent source of news, because most people tend to go to that as an independent source of news of everything that goes on in the Middle East, especially also because they usually use women to front some of this news, and people just take it for granted that Al Jazeera is a neutral and independent source of news. That is not true. Al Jazeera is not an unbiased source of news about Israel and the Middle East, and you cannot take Al Jazeera news, or indeed any news outlet, you cannot take what they say as gospel truth. You need to check other sources, especially for us as Christians. And just like BBC, Al Jazeera is a state-owned media company. It is owned and financed by Qatar, and Qatar is a country that is run by dictatorship. Qatar sponsors terrorists. Qatar, up till recently, was housing most of the leaders of Hamas. Okay, now they are trying to expel them now that Trump has become the president of America. Al Jazeera is a government tool of propaganda. Al Jazeera is a government tool of propaganda. Al Jazeera is a government tool of propaganda. That does not make it bad, but it does make it questionable. Sometimes it does make it dangerous. Again, I'm not asking you not to listen to Al Jazeera. I'm not asking you not to listen to CNN, BBC, and all these legacy media. I'm telling you that you need to be careful. You need to check other sources. They are not telling you, thus saith the Lord. A lot of these legacy news outlets are biased, and you and I need to understand that. And just by the way, while we are on this subject, you also need to know that TikTok is a Chinese social media platform, because a whole lot of this is being targeted at young people today. TikTok is a Chinese social media platform, and it uses aggressive algorithm to feed young people with opinions, information, and ideologies that are oftentimes dangerous and evil. You need to understand that. So when your children, and a lot of young people like TikTok, when your children are on this platform media, please educate them. This media are not neutral. These media are not just honest in the sense of being harmless. This media, they targeted the young people. They brainwash them with ideologies that sometimes can be evil, that can be wicked. What I'm saying is this, that we just need to beware. TikTok, some of these legacy media can be toxic. They can be harmful. Okay? And we need to beware. We need to approach them with great caution. Now, even United Nations, UN of today, is biased against Israel. I'm talking about this thing. Look, I'm not just talking about Israel. You will see, I'm going to let you know that just the same way that these people are biased against Israel, they are biased against Christianity. Israel is fighting this battle, but this is an example for us as Christians. Don't think that all this social media, don't think that all this legacy media, don't think that all these governmental tools, don't think that they are on our side as Christians. Okay, the devil uses all these tools against our faith, just the same way that they use it against Israel. Even United Nations is biased against Israel. This is the United Nations that was established at the end of World War II with the sole aim of preventing future war. What was the objective of the United Nations? Is to maintain international peace and security, to protect human rights, to deliver humanitarian aid, to promote sustainable development, and to uphold international law. Now, you need to understand that the United Nations is the largest and the most powerful intergovernmental organization in the world. However, the hypocrisy and the bias of the Human Rights Council of the United Nations against Israel, hypocrisy is legendary. I mean, sometimes people can be subtle about the way they go about some things, but the hypocrisy of this legacy social media, legacy media and social media, the hypocrisy of these people and the United Nations is legendary. Over the years, the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly, they have issued disproportionate resolution focus on Israel while they ignore serious crime committed by other member nations. I mean, sitting on some of these groups are nations that are known for their human rights abuse, and all these people will be ignored, and they keep shunning out one resolution after another against Israel. In addition to its double standard, United Nations agencies are known to spread misleading information when addressing Israel's action and the broader conflict in the Middle East. And it's even been shown that Hamas uses some of United Nations building to store their weapons of war. I mean, how do you explain these things? How do you explain these things? We will briefly return to United Nations and look at its role or lack of role that it played with respect to the atrocity that Hamas committed against Israel on the 7th of October 2023. What am I saying here? We are talking about this. Again, remember, we are talking about our warfare and weapons of warfare. And we are looking at this warfare so that we as Christians can learn. We Christians likewise face this kind of warfare. False narratives, false propaganda, both from the inside and from the outside of the church, has been targeted at our faith. I'm going to stop here. We're going to pick it up from here next episode by God's grace. I just want to talk to you. If you're a Christian, keep believing, keep trusting, keep living this life, even against the challenge. Truth will win. Truth will win. The God that watches over Israel never sleep, never slumber, and the God of the church never sleep or slumber. Even though we pass through the valley of shadow of death, we will fear no evil. Our God is with us. But if you are listening to me tonight, or whenever you are listening and you are not born again, I want you to know that there's a battle over your life. God loves you. Jesus died for you. You can be saved tonight. If God is touching your heart to say, you know, this is the truth, you can, wherever you are, you can bow your head, pray, and ask God. Ask Jesus to save you. that you're a sinner. You need a savior. Ask him to save you. He will come in and do a deep work in your heart, and he will start working with you as you grow in your faith. He will walk with you the rest of your life on this earth. And when this is over, you will then be able to spend eternity with him in the new heaven and the new earth. Do it right now.